brought forth grass. Boy, I wish I was there. You know, this didn't happen over millions of years. God says, let there be grass, and you're sitting there and you're thinking, boy, I need a big lawnmower now. It's just growing so quick. Trees just growing up, you know. Wow, budding, and I'll have a piece of that really fresh fruit. You know, what a sight. You know, we watch Hollywood and we think, boy, that's good. That nothing compared to God's creation, how he makes things. But he created it for us, didn't he? For our enjoyment. And so he created trees and fruit that we would love. We find out in, let's have a look here, Genesis chapter 1 and verse 29. This is after God created humanity. God said, see, I have given you every herb that yields seed, which is on the face of all the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed. To you it shall be for food. Do you think that food would have tasted good? God knew he was going to make man, and so he created fruits and food that was going to taste beautiful. And doesn't it today? You know, it's shocking that in the supermarket we buy, you know, year-old apples and think they're fresh. Go to an orchard, grab a crunchy apple. I remember when I was in Victoria, that's where I grew up, and we went to Mildura, which is basically the orange capital of Australia. We went on a bus ride, and I bought a whole big bag of fresh oranges. Oh, they were beautiful. I think I had a little bit too many though, and they were good for rolling up and down the bus too. We had a lot of fun. But God created food for us to enjoy. You know, the problem is that we misuse that food, don't we? You know, one of the ways that we misuse it, unfortunately, let's have a look at this fantastic reference here in Proverbs chapter 23. You know, the Bible doesn't pull any punches. It tells things as it is. Proverbs chapter 23. Let's have a look at what, unfortunately, a lot of people do with the good food that God has created. Verse 29, 23 and verse 29. I like this. Who has woe? Who has sorrow? Who has contentions? Who has complaints? Sometimes this sounds like me. Who has wounds without cause? Who has redness of eyes? Do you know who this is describing? Verse 30, those who linger long at the wine. Oh, why do humanity take this beautiful fresh grape and stick it somewhere in a cool room, mix it up with sugars and ferment it so that it makes us do crazy things and have woe, sorrow, contentions, complaints, wounds without cause, because we wake up the next morning and, oh, what happened? You know, why is my eyebrow shaved off? Verse 30, those who linger long at the wine, those who go in search for mixed wine. Verse 31, here's a warning. Do not look on the wine while it is red, while it sparkles in the cup, while it swirls around smoothly. At last it bites like a serpent. It stings like a viper. Your eyes will see strange things. Your heart will utter perverse things. Yes, you'll be like one who lies down in the midst of the sea, or one who lies on top of the mast saying, can you imagine, this is in a storm, you're on top of the mast. Whoa, whoa, I'm getting dizzy, I'm getting sick. And verse 35, they've struck me, but I was not hurt. They've beaten me, but I do not feel it. When shall I wake so that I may seek another drink? Oh, why do we spoil things? You know, some people say, oh, it's all right, just have a little bit of alcohol once a week. But, you know, there are so few people who can just stick to that once a week piece of alcohol. It usually becomes 2, 3, 4 social drinkers till they're heavy drinkers. And it affects so many lives of so many people. So much abuse is caused by alcohol, so much pain. And even that one cup affects your body and destroys brain cells. So why not stick to the grape juice, the fresh stuff, the stuff that invigorates you, or the grapes itself? Why do we have to pervert what God has made? And by the way, of course, I think everyone knows, stop drinking alcohol, your health will improve. It's a known fact. You know, I was doing some research yesterday. I had heard that there was a certain amount of sugar in a can of Coke. And so I thought I'll go online and Google it and find out how much sugar in a can of Coke. Now, let me tell you, can you believe everything you read on the internet? No. No, don't believe everything you read on the internet. Just like don't believe everything that's on the news. Check it out for yourself. So I went over to Grace, who was sitting next to me, and she had a can of Coke sitting on a table. I said, "Can I borrow your Coke?" She looks at me. You know, you don't usually borrow Coke, you drink it, you take it. And she says, "Okay." She said, "What for?" I said, "I'm doing a health program tomorrow morning. I want to see how much sugar's in it." That's when she started getting a bit worried. I went on the internet, and one thing I found out was that 1 teaspoon has 16 calories in it. And they said the best way to figure out how much sugar is in Coke, look at how many calories are in the Coke bottle. Divided by 16, you'll find out how many teaspoons of sugar. That's what I did. Got my calculator out. 160 calories in a 375 millilitre can of Coke. 160 divided by 16 is 10. So I said to Grace, "There's 10 teaspoons of sugar in your Coke." I don't want to drink it anymore. Why do we corrupt the food? Why do we want this junk food? Come on, grab an apple. You'll feel so much better. Oh yeah, the Coke gives you a kick. The caffeine gives you a kick. But something I heard, which I haven't yet verified, but someone said to me once, if caffeine was a prescription drug, they would not prescribe it because it's got so many side effects. Something to think about. Will caffeine kill you? I mean, on high doses it will. But it's all these little things that add up which will make our body more sick and more, lazy, and diseases will start coming in more and more. And, it's hard for God to communicate through a mind that's all muddled. How many people have said, "I found God by drinking alcohol. In my befuddled state, God spoke clearly to me." You don't hear that. It's only when they become sober and in a quiet place, that's when God can speak to their spirit. Mind you, God can speak to anyone at any time, no problem. But don't we, as people who love Jesus, want to hear him clearly? Surely. That's what I want to do. And so that's why I don't drink alcohol. The other reason is because if I drink it, I don't know what happens while I drink it. And I don't want to wake up thinking, "Oh boy, what did I do this time?" And I tried a little bit when I was 16, but I'm sorry, beer tastes disgusting. You really have to acquire a taste for it. And I never got to that stage, praise the Lord. So God gives us the plants to eat. On day 4, we find that God creates the sun, moon, and stars. We won't look up that reference. The sun, moon, and stars. I had Angelo up here just before, standing in the sun. You know what they're finding? And this is really baffling the scientists out there. But 15 minutes of sunlight, preferably in the early morning or late evening, not during the middle of the day, but 15 minutes of sunlight actually helps you get rid of cancer, prevents cancer. And scientists are sort of baffled. They say, "No, sun causes cancer." But the research is showing that little bits of sun actually help you. We need sun, the vitamin D. You ask the people who live in a part of the world where for 3 months there's no sun because of the way the world's spinning. Up the Arctic North, in those little countries, Scandinavian countries. During that time of 3 months or more when there's no sun, they suffer depression. Not because they're miserable people, it's because the body needs vitamin D to lift their spirits up. And it's a known fact. We need the sun. Don't try and avoid it like the plague. Take little bits of doses of it. It'll make you come alive. I work in a building. And that to me is a little bit sad because there's air conditioning going on all the time. But I don't mind sitting on my backside all day, though I really need to exercise. We really should look at that too. But one thing I love doing at lunch, where I work, there's a nice open area where there's trees and chairs, and I take my lunch out there, and pretty well just about any time, unless it's raining, even if it's cold and miserable and windy, as long as the seats are dry, I'm out there. Because I know the sun actually makes me feel happier. I feel alive, so that when I go back on my desk in front of